let's continue with biotechnology from where we have left. We have seen till this the process of isolation of DNA from the sample, and then so I'll just revise it and then go ahead. Okay. So first of all, isolation of gene of interest. So how will you isolate the gene? Is that you will first collect the sample. Okay. So you, say blood sample or semen sample or any body fluids, collect the sample, break all the cell walls, add the enzymes except DNAs, digest everything, centrifuge it, and then take the supernatant. To that add ethanol, rotate the tubes, that's called a spooling. So once you've done, you can get a nice ball of DNA. Okay, when you spool your test tubes, you can get a nice ball of DNA as you spool. Okay, so that is how you isolate the DNA. From the DNA to the gene, what you're supposed to do is you have to run the agarose gel electrophoresis. Okay, so gel electrophoresis is a technique of separation of DNA based upon their weights. Okay, it is a horizontal mode of separation. Centrifuge is a vertical mode of separation, but this is horizontal. Okay, so you have to prepare your gel. Okay, load the samples, add ETBR, that is etherium bromide, then add your restriction enzymes. Okay, so as you know, restriction enzymes are the enzymes which are used to cut the DNA at specific locations. Okay, so there are okay, restriction enzyme is used to cut, and you can cut the DNA into various sizes. Okay, you'll be running the ladder, and you know the weight of the template gene which you want to isolate. Okay, so comparing with the ladder, you will isolate the gene. So that is how the gene isolation is done. Okay, so once you get your gene, next is we have to go to the vectors, correct? So you know vectors are extra chromosomal DNA molecules which are found in bacterium. Okay, they are circular in shape. The main feature is that they are automated, that is, they are self-replicative. They are not dependent on the nucleus for any of the for replication process. So they are dependent on their own. That is the reason we are choosing plasmids as vectors here. Other plasmids include your RNA plasmids. Okay, that is RNA retroviruses, then your agrobacterium. All these are some natural plasmids. Okay, now, so once you choose, so what are the characteristics to be considered for choosing a vector? It should have a high copy number, it should have an ORI site, it should have a selectable marker, and it should have a cloning site. Selectable marker here is nothing but the antibiotic resistance. Okay, and cloning site will be one of the antibiotic resistant genes. Okay, what we have chosen here is tetracycline and ampicillin. So I will also cut the vectors using the same restriction enzyme. Okay, so whatever I used here, so it will be like this. The same restriction enzyme I'll use here, because then only the ends will match. Okay, if not, if I'm using different enzymes, the ends will not match. So to match the ends, you have to make sure that you're using the same restriction enzyme. So after cutting, this is how it will be. So what happens is that this is your vector which is cut. And this will be your DNA. So this is how they both are pasted. Okay, the ends should match. That is why the same enzyme. And now this pasting can be done by DNA ligase. Okay, and now this is called as rDNA. Okay, now I have to introduce them inside the bacterial cells, and this process of introduction of the rDNAs to the bacterial cell is called as competence. So competence is done. So you have various techniques which we have seen: gene gun, micro injection, okay, then your chemical treatment, heat treatment, all these are the methodologies. Okay, then after this you will be screening the recombinant. So that we have seen. Okay, how will we screen? First, grow it on tetracycline. First grow it on ampicillin, then all the recombinants will go, but all the transformants will grow, but non-transformants will not grow. Then grow it on tetracycline. Only recombinants will not grow, but non-recombinants will grow. So that is how you can differentiate. So after screening, what you have to do is harvest. So before harvest, you have one more important step, that is nothing but growing in large scale. That is, you cannot grow in a laboratory, it will not fetch you any profit. So large scale production, so after that only we'll be harvesting the product. So these are the steps, correct? So we've seen all these, and we've seen about this restriction enzymes, correct? So there are two types. What is the first restriction enzyme? HIN2, okay. So how are they named? How will they cut? What is blunt end? What is sticky end? What are linkers, adapters? All these we've seen, okay. Now, what are we going to see today is, okay, so, okay, we've seen till screening, correct? Next is large scale production. So before that, okay, see, in laboratory, I can make only one rDNA or two rDNAs or max 3 rDNAs, correct? And then I can insert them into some test tube full of cells. In that I'll screen and I'll get, say, 100 cells, 100 bacterium with the recombinants, for example, okay. But the 100 alone, how will you multiply? Or this, either you can multiply the recombinants here, okay, multiply the recombinants, because when growing in large scale, hundreds will not fetch you anything, okay, you need more starting things, okay. So multiply the recombinants to some 1,000 to 10,000 or some million number, okay. So how will you do that is that you have a technique. See, we've seen about agarose gel electrophoresis, correct? So that will be there in each and every lab. Likewise, we're going to see about one very common device of all the researchers, that is nothing but your PCR. Okay, so PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction. Okay, so PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction. So this is a reaction. Okay, the device name is called as thermostat. The name of the device is called as thermo. Thermo stands for temperature. So it is totally controlled by the temperature. Okay, so it's called as thermostat. And who invented this is scientist named Kary Mullis. So he got Nobel Prize for his discovery, because this particular PCR is a very, very, very great breakthrough in the field of biotechnology, genetics, biology as such, okay. Because when you have, using this device, you can multiply your DNA, okay. See, if you come across some forensic studies and all, see, they'll get small amount of sample from the crime site, okay, semen sample or blood sample. With that, how are they identifying the person? That is because with the help of PCR. So whatever sample they found from the site, okay, they'll multiply it in PCR and then they'll look into it. So this PCR is a very great breakthrough in the field of biology entirely, okay. So the name of the scientist is Kary Mullis, okay. So next is that, okay, what is the purpose is, it will amplify the DNA. So the main purpose of this is to amplify the DNA. And I told you this is totally controlled by the temperature. Okay, we see normal process of DNA replication. How will you amplify the DNA inside the body is by the replication process. Okay, so DNA replication is involved in amplification. In this particular thermostat, we are mimicking the same principle but under the control of temperature. Okay, so first of all, to know about how this works, you should know, should have a very clear idea of how the replication takes place. Okay, so I'll just revise the replication. There'll be 2 strands. Okay, so there'll be enzymes working on it, topoisomerase, helicase. Okay, then this is 3' to 5', 5' to 3'. Okay, so primers will come and bind, RNA primers will come and bind at the 3' because polymerase has a starting problem, so primers will start the process, and then the polymerase will continue the direction of 5' to 3'. So the polymerase activity is from 5' to 3'. Here it will be forming small strands. So this is called leading strand, this is lagging strand, this is continuous, this is discontinuous. Later these fragments are all joined together by ligase. So this is how the replication normally happens, and you should have ORI site for replication to happen. Okay, fine. So this is how it happens naturally. Now in PCR, I am mimicking the same thing. Okay, same thing under the control of the temperature. Okay. So okay, before going to the processes, okay, before going to process, let's see what when you're using a PCR. Okay, so you'll have a small tube. It is just like a benchtop, benchtop grinder kind of thing. It's very small. Okay, and you'll have an open strand like this. Okay, with the small tube-like projections. So you'll have a lot of things. This tube size will be very small. It's a V-shaped tube. Okay, so it will be a very small tube. It will all be linked. So what I have to do is, I have to add all the ingredients, because naturally you have your enzymes, you have your primers, you have polymers, everything is there. But in test tube, nothing is present. Correct? So you have to add what are all the reagents necessary for the process to happen. Okay, so from this, what do you think can be added? Okay, so from this process, I'll call it as PCR mix. Okay, so before starting the process, I'll add all these, and in the tube, I will calculate, okay, for one reaction how much I need. It depends on the DNA you have to amplify. So I'll make all the calculations, I'll make PCR master mix. So what is there in this PCR master mix is that, first and foremost thing, whichever DNA you want to amplify, that's called as DNA template. Okay, so whichever DNA you want to amplify, it should be there, correct? So then only you can amplify it. Then then what happens is, you'll have primer, then polymerase. Okay, so here there is no, see, first of all, here what are the things which are being added? For example, ATGCA. So if I have ATAGC, so what are these? All nothing but nitrogenous bases which are present in our body, which are being added by the polymerase. So here there aren't any nitrogenous bases. So what will I add? So I will name it as DNTPs. DNTPs are nothing but because this is DNA, correct? So it is dihydroxy nitrogenous phosphates. Okay. So these DNTPs are added. Okay. So I'll calculate. Okay. How much of amplification you want to make? Accordingly, I'll add the DNTPs. So when the DNTPs are not there anymore, the process will automatically stop. Clear? Here it is naturally available. But here, as long as these are available only, I can extend. When these are like getting over, there's no point. I cannot extend. Okay. And then I'll add buffer. Okay. So these are the things I will add in the PCR mix, master mix. Okay. Now one more thing. The polymerase which is being added here is very special. Why? Because normal polymerases can survive in here, normal DNA polymerases. But here, I told you it is thermostat, heat control. So normal polymerase cannot tolerate the heat. So I will add a special polymerase called as Taq polymerase. What is this Taq is that? This is also a polymerase extracted from the bacterium which is living in a hot springs. Okay, so that kind of polymerase can take in the heat. But normal polymerase, no, it can't take in. Primers can survive, but not the polymerase. Okay, so that is why I will extract the polymerase from the bacterium called as Taq. Taq stands for Thermus aquaticus. So this is a bacterium from which I'll extract the polymerase. Okay, so this is a very, this lives in a hot spring. So that is the reason. Okay, fine. So with all this, I have to calculate how much of DNA, how much primer, how much all these, and then I will mix everything in these tubes and I'll place it. Okay, so that is how I'll make myself ready for the PCR. So next, see how the process happens.